Next Door Conversations with me, Amara. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about something that, if I'm being honest, hand on Bible, I do not want to discuss. I didn't want to give this thing any more air, any more fuel. I wanted the conversation just to die out because I feel like there are lots of things that trend online, and it's not everything that trends online that I have to bring to this podcast and talk about. I feel like there are certain issues that speak to me, that, call on me to say, you know what, Amara, I think people would value a discussion on this type of thing. This one did not speak to me immediately, but I just insisted. I decided to push through because I feel like there's an underbelly of this conversation that really needs to be discussed, and that is the fact that tribalism is so rampant amongst Gen Z youth, and we are going to be discussing that on today's episode. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Amara, and this is Next Door Conversations, my podcast where I talk about trending news, viral content, what's happening on social media and in the world at large. If you like what you need to make sure that you're following the podcast, ring the notification bell so every time I drop an episode you get a notification. And also don't forget to share this episode with a friend, because I'm sure there's someone in your circle of friends that's interested in topics like these. And without too much yapping, let's get straight into the episode. So what are we going to be discussing today, guys? 2 days ago on X, on that bastard app, you know how everybody that has listened to this podcast since episode 1 knows how I feel about that bastard app. But on that app, there was a discussion that was occurring, and you will not believe that people were seriously debating, and I mean seriously, like civil war debates on who owns Gele, which tribe in Nigeria owns the Gele, and what the heck an Ichafus is. Apparently, Lagos people don't know what Ichafus is. So yeah, a Nigerian fashion content creator actually made a post. She posted a picture of a woman wearing a newspaper headgear and captioned it, "This is Gele." Another ex-user decided to comment on that post saying, "This is Ichafus." And next thing you know, hell opened over. People were talking, throwing insults at each other. You know how X gets now. Everything becomes so personal and nasty, and there's no room for separating the individual from the claim that they're making or the arguments that they're trying to, make. There's no room for actual discussion of the topic. People just veer. They do. Oh my God. I hate that app so much. You people know how I feel about that. I've left, I've come back. I'm here now. I promise there's no amount of dragging they will drag me that will make me leave that place. Let me just leave what I'm doing there. But yeah, it became really, really nasty. People were saying, oh, the Igbos. There was this thing that really made me shocked. The fact that Yorubas were using accusations of cultural appropriation against Igbos. I never imagined in my life. This is something that Black Americans do to other ethnicities. They're talking about how, the Black culture is consistently being appropriated. And to think that Yorubas will wake up and say that Igbos are appropriating their culture. I get that Yoruba culture is, more mainstream because we have Afrobeats and we have so many things, that have been able to... Yoruba culture is not just even specific to Nigeria. Yoruba culture is also found in the Caribbean. The same way Igbo culture can be found in the Caribbean, Yoruba culture is also found in other parts of Africa, other parts of West Africa. So definitely more mainstream, definitely the most mainstream culture in Nigeria. And I understand, why a lot of people would like to believe that Yorubas are the only people that have headgear. But I promise you, Igbos have had the Ichafus. Please, Igbos have had the Ichafus since God knows when. I grew up watching my mother and the women in my family wear Ichafus, okay? It was a thing. It still is a thing. Anyway, I'm not here to just lecture to you. I decided to do my own research. Literally, I just Googled Gele versus Ichafus and opened the first article that popped up. But I promise there's a lot of historical backstory going on in this article. So yeah, we're going to be reading it. So the beautiful article starts out by pointing out the fact that Gele is native to the Yoruba people and Ichafus is native to the Igbo people. The same way we have things like Udara and Agbalumo, depending on which part of Nigeria you grew up in. If you grew up in the East, you were hearing Udara. If you grew up in the West, you were hearing Agbalumo. Me, I grew up hearing both because I am in Abuja. The article went on to expand on this social media conversation, talking about how some of the Yorubas believe that the Igbos adopted the Ichafus and, they renamed the Gele to Ichafus to claim it as theirs, making a similar debate about Egusi. I did not even know this was a thing. But apparently the Yorubas also believe that Igbo stole Egusi too. Crazy. Some of them even went as far as to say that, the Gele is deeply rooted in Yoruba culture, whereas the Ichafus was just derived as a French mispronunciation of the word chiffon. So in some of these people's minds, the Igbos decided to steal Gele from Yorubas. Then they sat down and thought, we can't call it Gele because Gele is theirs. So what do we call it? And then they looked to the French people who were wearing chiffon things and they were like, chiffon, Ichafu. Somehow they arrived at Ichafu and decided to call this thing Ichafu and put it on top of their heads. It's actually very, very ridiculous. But I promise you some people on X are running with this theory. So this particular article decided to, dig deep into the archives and find out historically who was the one that owned the headgear. And so article pointed out that there were historical records and 19th century photography that was showing a specific Madame Efunroye, sorry if I mispronounce this, Yoruba people, Efunroye Tinubu, in the 1880s wearing what they call Ipele. I'm so sorry if you're Yoruba and you're hearing this and I'm butchering this, but they said that this was early versions of the Gele. People in the Yoruba land, women in Yoruba land would use this stiff ashoke, which is like a hand-woven Yoruba fabric, to wrap around their heads, and that later on lighter fabrics from Switzerland, China, and Austria were used. And so we actually have historical proof that in the 1880s and 19th century, the Yoruba people wore something that resembled the Gele that would later become the Gele. Let's call it the Gele version 1.0. On the Igbo side, I can't believe we're seriously doing this. On the Igbo side, the article pointed out that Igbo women have actually been wearing Ichafus since the 1800s. And back then, it was called the Ulari or Unari. Oh, would you look at that? There was actually a name for it. Okay, so according to Ozi Ikoro, it was worn to reflect the title and maturity of women and to signify those that were married and those were unmarried. Which is so true because, we all grew up on Nollywood. We all saw those movies where those women going for August meeting, all of them are carrying their Ichafu on their head. Those of us that grew up around Igbo women, we definitely saw them wearing the Ichafu. The Ichafu is obviously different. Even when you look at it, you can tell that this is a lot different from the Gele. The Gele has more structure. It's more like organized. It's more, I don't know how to describe it. But the Ichafu is like a flower opening up, I guess. That's the best way that I can describe what I'm trying to say. But you know how Lagos people are? Lagos people are the kind of people that they honestly believe, because their culture is so mainstream, but they believe that anything that exists in their culture started in their culture. And if it exists anywhere else in Nigeria, then we just copied them. I feel they're so deep in their asses that they believe this. And I'm sorry, but that is not true. Other cultures exist. You guys are not the first people to wear headgear. So why are we dragging this thing, Seth? This article clearly proves that both the Igbos and the Yorubas had some version of a headgear at the start of Nigeria, in pre-colonial Nigeria. So the argument is flimsy, it's unnecessary. Literally, that is what this article writer said. It's flimsy, it's unnecessary, and unfortunately it will happen again, because this is not the first time that people are seriously arguing about Gele and Ichafu. And it got me thinking, let's really dip it. This thing is not about Gele and Ichafu. You and I know it. This thing is about tribalism. And it's a tribalism that I have been noticing more and more recently between the Igbos and the Yorubas. I grew up in a Nigeria where I thought the Igbos and Yorubas were best friends. Really, like growing up, the closest brothers I have in terms of like, what would I call it? Tribe. Apart from those of the South, which, if I'm being honest, I kind of consider them Igbo as well. Even though they're not Igbo, let me not come and claim people that do not claim me. But a lot of them, like people from Port Harcourt, their names are literally just reversions, or I don't know, different. It's such minute differences that I do consider them Igbo, even though technically they are not Igbo. But I feel like our neighbors, I considered Yorubas as our neighbors. I considered them closer in terms of similarities in culture, similarities in lifestyle, compared to anybody up north. And so it has been very interesting to watch the shift in the times to where now we are literally looking at each other like enemies, at least online. Because I know Yoruba and Igbo, they marry steady every Saturday in real life. But yeah, I don't know if it's because of the current political climate with figureheads like Peter Obi and Tinubu propping up. Maybe that is what is sort of pushing the times or pushing us in this direction. But it's very concerning. It's very concerning how deeply tribalistic a lot of Gen Z Nigerians are, when we don't actually have to be. Like, there's nothing I can look to a Yoruba person, man or woman, and say, you took this from me. And there's nothing that a Yoruba person, I would like to believe, there's nothing like a Yoruba person can look at me and say, I took from them. We're all in this bullshit together. And we have watched marriage of cultures in terms of Yoruba and Igbo culture in Nollywood, in Afrobeats, in so many, in fashion, in so many spheres of life. And we've seen us make magic together. So it's weird that now there is such a deep disdain for Igbos in terms of Yoruba culture and Yorubas in terms of Igbo culture. I've always been one to believe that it is deeply unnecessary and stupid to die on the hill of your tribe. I always believe that we should always, I'm saying always so many times because I feel it's very important, we should have a humanity first approach in everything that we do, regardless of what tribe the person is from, what religious affiliation, whatever category you want to class them into. We must have a humanity first approach. And the rain is falling down. The sun is beating all of us, regardless of who we are. The sun is beating down on us. There are things greater than culture. There are things greater than your tribal affiliation. And being unable to look past that has deep consequences. And so while I get the importance of, or the necessity of ownership and to call out appropriation or misappropriation, I think there's a way you can approach the conversation in good faith without having to throw aspersions or throw insults as an entire tribe of people. But anyway, maybe X is not the place that can occur. All I'm saying is, Igbos, we need to do better. Yorubas, you need to do better too. You people need to, because you guys were the ones that were coming all gung-ho. Like someone was stealing your, I don't even understand. Like it's, anyway, let me not get riled up about this stupid conversation. All I have to say is we need to do better. We need to do better as the young generation to fully just dead this idea of tribalism, because it did a number on the Gen Xers, it did a number on the baby boomers. You know, I think it's only the millennials that were able to sort of abate the whole situation and find a way to work around our cultural differences. But now it's creeping its head up with Gen Zs, and we can't let that happen. Let's not forget, this is a country that went through a civil war, okay? And that civil war killed millions of people of a particular tribe that is now being vilified again, you know. Let's not forget that. And that's honestly all I have to say. You let me know your thoughts as always on social media at nextdoorpod_ on X. You can also check out the WhatsApp channel. Yes, we have a WhatsApp channel. Join the WhatsApp channel so you can, talk direct with me on the things that you want to discuss about this topic that we're having. So yeah, check us out on there. Check us out on X and you'll see the link on there for our WhatsApp channel. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.